Yes, everybody, welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or of course, if you are watching on our growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THS staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me from the Smith Center in Chapel Hill, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, you just saw the Tar Heels pick up an 88-65 win over Georgia Tech. Carolina improving to 12-4 on the season, 4-1 in ACC play. I thought it was a really good performance from the Tar Heels from start to finish. Offensively, I thought they were really good, really efficient for most of the game, particularly in that first half when they were just, hitting shots left and right, and it really continued in the second half as well. So first thing I want to talk about, though, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball, which might be a surprise to a little bit. I thought Leaky Black was really good on Devoe again tonight. We saw him shut him down in Atlanta. I know he still had a decent game points-wise down in Atlanta, but Carolina and Leaky Black in particular was able to keep him pretty quiet down there and just didn't allow him to really affect the game too much. Same thing tonight, just 2 points for Devoe, 1 for 5 shooting, so didn't even take a lot of shots. And for those who don't know, Devoe is actually second in the ACC, just behind, I believe it's Duke's Mark Williams, who's averaging like 0.2 points more than him in the ACC. So he's one of the top scorers in the ACC and obviously in turn one of the top scorers in the country. So Leaky Black, really good defensive performance on there. I tweeted that Armando Bacot's conducting the Leaky Black for ACC Defensive Player of the Year train. He's firmly conducting that one right now. So, but I thought defensively in particular with Leaky Black, he was big time once again on one of the best scorers in the country.
Well, and Hubert hopped on board as well. And Hubert's been pitching people for awards. Hubert's like a walking billboard for some of these guys.
I'm telling you,
pitching Armando yesterday for ACC Player of the Year on January 14th. Today, Leaky for ACC Defensive Player of the Year on January 15th. But he was awesome. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was an amazing defensive performance. The best stat of any Carolina game this year is Michael Devoe attempting 5 shots tonight.
Yeah.
It's not that just he only scored 2 points and made one. We made 1 shot. He only attempted 5. And Jacob, remember last month, you pointed out a second ago down in Atlanta, when they went into that game, Devoe, I think, was leading the nation in scoring. And Leaky held him to 8 field goals below his average. Yeah. Field goal attempts, rather, or below his average, which was a hell of a performance. And it was a big reason Carolina responded to that 19-2 Georgia Tech run that day and ended up winning by 17. So they actually outscored Georgia Tech by 36 in 35 of the minutes of that game that day. It was just that 5-minute run that Tech had. Devoe had a couple of threes, I think, in that run, but he didn't squat today. And I asked Leaky after the game, I said, 6 turnovers, no assists, 1 for 5. If you're Josh Pastner and you're told that 45 minutes before tip-off, you expect to be down 30, and they were down 30. I think the lead grew to 35 at one point because the Tar Heels were on point in every conceivable point. And I'm a sidebar away from Leaky here for a second. I thought collectively they defended really well. They weren't switching as much tonight. Although Tech didn't set a ton of screens, kind of curious that they relied a lot on the dribble. A lot of the shots Tech hit in the first half, if they weren't in transition or certainly weren't after turnovers, so they were able to kind of get that secondary thing, some open shots that way. Otherwise, a lot of them in the half court were tough shots from the top of the key. A couple of Usher made a really tough one from 27 feet out. So they got some buckets to kind of hang in there a little bit, but it was still 16 at the half. So going back to Leaky, man, he just completely owned Usher, got into his head. You could see Usher's body language. Excuse me, not Usher, Devoe, pardon me. Devoe's body language. And the last place that dude wanted to be the last 15 minutes of the game was in this building with Leaky Black draped all over him. That was a sensational performance by Leaky. He also had several assists. His 4 game was on. Couple other passes he could have had assists for, but Manic missed a conversion on one. Armando missed a conversion on the other. So Leaky was really playing at a very high level. There was one sequence where he got down defensively, got back in the second half defensively on a break and snuffed out what would have been a fast break bucket for Georgia Tech. So it wasn't just what he did on Devoe. It's what he did overall and his effect on the team and on the game. And I think, and we finally got to talk to Leaky. One of the drawbacks of here that we're still in the COVID era, in the Zoom era, is we don't get to go in the locker room and talk to guys. And I miss talking to Leaky. I got to be perfectly honest with you. I really like Leaky Black personally. He's a wonderful guy. He's got a really good disposition about things. If you want to find out what's going on with the team, either positive or if they're not playing well, Leaky's going to give it to you straight. He's going to be straight up with you. He understands what he's looking at. He understands what's going on. He's got a tremendous feel for where the team is. And we got him tonight, and we didn't have to ask him questions about where the team is because the team played so well. That's 2 straight games they played well. But I think he's a big part of it. We're seeing some stuff come together. And a constant is that Leaky doesn't care what his stats are. All he cares about doing is winning. And he said tonight, I think C.L. Brown asked him a really good question about, look, a lot of guys these days your age, they all want to score. They want to take shots. And he said, my job is to set screens to get other guys shots. My job is to find them, make that second pass. In hockey, he might get an assist because 2 guys can get an assist on a goal, right? The passer to the goal. In basketball, they don't do it that way. If they did that, Leaky would have a lot more assists on the season because he's a part of that flow. Their skip passing and stuff tonight, which we'll talk about here in a second. Some of that was Leaky, the awareness he played with. But, man, that defensive effort he put on tonight, that was as good a defensive effort I've seen from a Tar Heel in a long time. And I've probably been in person for about 97% of the games they played the last 15, 20 years. So that was awfully impressive watching him do what he did tonight. And I'm glad that he's going to get recognition for it because he deserves that recognition.
Yeah, he's just a kid who seems to really accepted his role. He's not trying to, only took 3 shots. That's kind of what you want, just 2 points on the night, 4 assists, like you said. But he's embraced his role. You can tell by the interview. If you haven't seen the interview, check it out on our YouTube channel. You can find that below. It's good stuff. It's good to he is a good guy to listen to. He's a good interview. Let's move on to the next thing, AJ. I want to talk about mindset because I feel like it's something we've harped on a lot. Not only is it something we've harped on a lot, I think the reason we have harped on it so much is because it's something Hubert Davis has talked about a lot this year.
His team being a little bit.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. His team being mentally prepared, being focused, and not only that, but playing hard. I think that's been something he's really was ticked off about after the up in South Bend after the Notre Dame game in particular. I think Carolina's kind of fixed that in some of their recent performances and how they bounced back from that. But I think we saw it once again. I thought this team was locked in. Like I said, that first half in particular, Carolina was so efficient on the offensive side of the ball, played some good defensive things as well. But Georgia Tech was, for the most part, really never in this game. In a lot of ways, it felt like this game was over at halftime. So I think the way Carolina came in, the way they played from start to finish was really good. And it's answering some of those, some of those things that's been thrown at them from fans, and not only from fans, but from their own coach and the coaching staff with just challenging these guys to come in locked in, come in ready to play. And it's pretty obvious when Carolina is ready to play and they're playing as good as they did tonight, they're a really fun team to watch, and they're a really, really good team as well.
When they're ready to play and they defend, they could be a pretty high-level team. They certainly are a second weekend NCAA tournament team when they do that. It's only been 2 games since Notre Dame, and that seems like a lot more because it's been a week and a half or so. They have a stretch coming up where they play Tuesday at Miami, then starting Saturday at Wake Forest. They got Wake Forest on Saturday, then they play Monday, they play Wednesday, they play Saturday, and then Tuesday at Louisville. Once we get into February, that's going to be a stretch that will really tell us if the team has fully fixed it, because they're going to have to play it, prepare, play a game, wake up, kind of do the film, move on to the next thing. Next thing you're on the court playing somebody again. 3 of those games in that one stretch during that 1 week are at home. That'll probably help a little bit, but sometimes you get a little complacent at home, especially if you've got Boston College coming in the middle of that stretch. So that will test them. But yeah, I think the readiness was absolutely there. I asked Hubert yesterday in his advanced press conference about the comments that Caleb made from said that they took them lightly. He's like, well, they lost to Boston College and took them lightly. And, of course, the head-scratcher was they also beat Kentucky, who was actually but that's part of the process. We don't talk process as much in basketball maybe as we should. We certainly have talked about it a lot in football. But this team with a new coach and new parts, new guys like Brady Manick, who spent 4 years somewhere else, so his college experience for 4 years. Dawson Garcia kind of had his experience at Marquette. He's coming in trying to figure things out. Sort of figuring out what his role on this team is because he's not starting and playing the minutes he did a year ago. And then you've got everything else sort of coming together, sort of figuring things out and understanding where their games are individually and how that works with the connection to the other. Right? So you got a lot of those moving parts that are now sort of starting to converge in the same course, going at the same speed in the same direction. And that's a big part of mindset too, because when you start to do that, you start to see the positives. And the last two games, they've been really, really good. I think that allows them to be more accountable. Like, okay, guys, you now see clearly what it's like when you approach these games with the right mindset, and you have enough intel and experience to see what it's like when you don't. Who the heck wants that? So Armando's playing off the charts. Leaky doing what he's done, showing the kind of leadership by look, I'm just out here to win, guys. I don't want to not shoot and lose by 15. And I'm okay not shooting and winning by 15. So let's do that. So they have a lot of examples of why it's the right approach. And I think they're starting to really believe that and starting to become who they are. But the test will come here in the next couple of weeks because they have so many games against really different kinds of teams, some who are struggling, some who aren't. And it's easy to get up for the really good teams. It's easy to get up for NC State because it's a rival, but do you get up the same way for Boston College? Tuesday night at Miami. Let's see how much they respect Miami by how they get up for that game. Who knows how many people will be in the building? I don't think Miami carries the cachet that some of these other teams carry, even though the Hurricanes are a pretty good club this year and can certainly beat the Tar Heels. So those tests are in front of them, but you could only build that steam by doing what they did against Virginia and then going into this game the way they did tonight. And tonight gets an asterisk next to it in a good way, or a star rather. If you're scoring a baseball game in the press box, you put a star next to a great play, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this is a club that they beat by 17 last week. As I said a few minutes ago, if you take out that 19-2 run that actually lasted 4.5 minutes, the one that Georgia Tech had, Carolina beat them by 36 and the other 35 minutes of that game. So they destroyed them in Atlanta. They were so much better. Yet they disregarded that. They didn't let that affect their mindset coming in. They believed the message that Hubert gave them, that this is a good team. They've changed the way they're playing a little bit. They hit a bunch of threes the other night to win at BC. So you guys got to come in ready to play because they can beat you. They bought the message, and they came in with the right mindset and got it done. So that is a sign of growth.
Yeah, most definitely. Apologies for the explosions going on behind AJ a few minutes ago as well.
They're folding up the stands and everything. You can actually see it. I think that part of that camera.
Yeah, you can literally see it behind you too. But it is what it is. Can't really avoid that. I'm gonna run through.
We would do these sooner. We would do these sooner before they're doing that, but we wait and do all the player interviews and the Hubert interview because I have to take part in that, and then we do this. So it's about an hour after the game right now. So they're definitely breaking stuff down. Otherwise, we would jump right into it and get this out sooner. But then I wouldn't know what Hubert and the players said. So I gotta be armed with that when I come to and do these videos. And then of course I need that for all the pieces I'm going to write today as well. So
most definitely, you got to be a part of that to know what to hear from them after the game. I'm going to run through some stats real quick before we dive into the last thing. Armando Bacot obviously led the way, 7th straight double for him. Been spectacular this season. 29 points. 12 rebounds. RJ Davis, another bounce back performance from him after going 0 for 10 from the floor against UVA last weekend. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Really good overall game from him. Caleb Love, 14 points. Brady Manick, another good overall kind of game from him as well. We've seen that a few times this season. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So, AJ, that kind of a perfect segue into what I want to hit on before we head on out of here. The last thing. I thought Carolina shared the ball really well. 20 assists on 30 made field goals. The ball movement was really, really good. I know Hubert Davis had an interesting quote that one of the referees told him during the game about some of the ball movement and whatnot being the best he's seen. So, bold statement when you say that. But Carolina is, when they're moving that ball around, when they're playing and passing the ball and just hitting some of those open shots that they got tonight from their ball movement, it makes their offense look so much better. And that was a reason that Carolina was so offensively efficient tonight, shooting 47.6% from the floor for the game.
The comment from the official was about how their spacing was just outstanding. And it was. Their spacing is so good that you go back and watch the film and count how many successful skip passes they had. Skip pass is the old Dean Smith thing, right? They were so good at making defenses move that they didn't have to swing the ball around the perimeter. They could just skip pass and get it to the other side so quickly. They were outstanding at that time. And the kickouts as well were all over the place. 20 assists on 30 baskets tonight against a really good defensive team that plays a unique style defensively with that zone. Pastner's always prided himself on that. And even though Georgia Tech is always a really good team, they usually rate very highly in defensive efficiency. And then last week, they had 19 assists on 28 baskets against the best program in America, the pack line defense, which has twisted this program into a knot the last 5 years. So in the last 2 games against teams that are like root canals sometimes when you try to score against them, the Tar Heels have, 39 assists on 58 fields. That is high-level stuff, and that's not just going in the open court and getting a bunch of ducks on the break and getting easy assists like that. They're doing this stuff in the half court. They're doing this stuff feeding Armando because he's been so damn good at getting position down low, at sealing his man, getting guys on his hips, turning and scoring. He's been very efficient at converting around the basket. But the kickouts and finding, two players over, like I said, the skip pass, and they're getting that stuff all over the place. They're passing from the corner to the top of the key for a 3. They're passing from the wing to the other wing for a 3. And a lot of times they get the skip pass and the defense starts moving. And the best place to throw an entry is against the defense trying to recalibrate and move back in your direction. And they've gotten entries to Brady Manick that way. They got a couple into Garcia, and they got a crap load into Armando. They're a beautiful thing to watch tonight when they were doing what they were doing. A lot of guys got involved. I don't know Manick's final assist total, but I tweeted out very early in the second half when he fed Armando for a bucket. That was his 3rd assist tonight. He had 5 against Virginia. So in 3 halves,
4 assists tonight.
He had 4. So he has 9 assists in his last 2 games. I'm telling you guys, you could go to certain sites and look at game logs, right? In each of his 4 seasons, you didn't see 4s and you didn't see 5s. And in the last 2 games against really good defensive teams, Brady Manick has a 5 and 4 in that column. That speaks volumes about where this team is. The shots that they pass up, boy, the recognition, the awareness, they're clicking offensively right now.
Oh, yeah. It's
a beautiful thing to watch. And I know that David Sisk loves the way that they play, loves the way Hubert coaches offense. And it was a very impressive. There's no negatives tonight, Jacob.
No, there's
no negatives in this thing because this team did everything it had. And even we're not even talking rebounding. They even won decisively on the glass as well. I don't even know. Yeah, with about 10 minutes left in the game, Georgia Tech didn't have an offensive rebound.
Wow.
So I don't know what the total was. I don't have the stats in front of me right now.
It was a 42-26 on the glass. Offensive rebounds, if I can find it down here. I don't know if they have it. Offensive rebounds right here, 11-4 for the Tar Heels.
11-4, yeah, but the game was over. They were up 30 before Georgia Tech grabbed their first offensive rebound. So check all the boxes.
Yeah,
Tar Heels
definitely
were fantastic tonight. They were fantastic against Virginia. They got to keep being fantastic because they don't, as Hubert said yesterday, they're not good enough to just kind of be partially dialed in and win games. Mm-hmm. Maybe BC here, but look what BC did at Clemson today. So you can't even overlook. You can't even be that way there. This club just doesn't have the dynamic ability. They have to connect in order to be really good. It's not like they're going to walk in and it's Tyler Hansbrough just dominating that day, right? Or Antoine Jamison just dominating that day, or when Harrison Barnes went for 40 that one time. It's not like that. They've got to help each other be really, really good. And against Virginia and here tonight against Georgia Tech, they did that.
Yeah, Carolina played some good basketball tonight in the win over Georgia Tech, 88-65. One of the best performances I think we've seen this season for the Tar Heels. I don't think anybody would argue from that. I thought they looked really, really good. And like I said earlier, improving to 12-4 on the season, 4-1 in ACC play. That Miami game's a big one. Miami's sitting atop the league at 5-1 in ACC play right now. So, yeah, telling you, man, it's a big game coming up. We got some big games coming up for the Tar Heels this week. And obviously we'll be there to cover them all. So make sure you guys keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com. And, of course, our YouTube channel, which just hit 9,000 subscribers. So we're getting close to that 10K mark, not too far off it. Hopefully we'll reach that before the end of basketball season. So big shout out to all the subscribers and everybody that's shows love and watches our videos over there. Got a nice little community growing. Hopefully we can continue to grow it. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well so you know every single time we upload. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.